Hello. Today's verse comes from 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 17 and 18, and it says, "Command those who are rich in this present world not to be arrogant, nor to put their hope in wealth, which is so uncertain, but to put their hope in God, who richly provides us with everything for our enjoyment. Command them to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous and willing to share." So this is something that really applies to a lot of people who don't necessarily think they fall into this category. And I'm talking about in the West, in America. Um, we have so much here, and I've talked about this before. We have so many things, and we have so much disposable income in our country that even those of us who have quite a lot of disposable income feel like we don't have enough, and we think that we're not wealthy and that we're poor. And I've mentioned before the argument right these days is about the 99% versus the ultra rich 1%, and everybody in the 99% somehow feels like they don't have enough. But that's just simply not true. But what this verse tells us is that we have to quit putting our hope in wealth, and we have to put our hope in God. And that wealth is actually so uncertain, but we don't see it that way. We see we're raised from a very young age, and the culture of this country is that if you get a job and if you save and you save enough for retirement, then you are being successful. If you're putting away enough money, if you're earning enough money to do extravagant things and to have enough money to retire and not have to work for money, then that's the way to go. And we've really been trained to put our hope in our wealth. But the Bible says that's not what we're supposed to do. And in fact, the hospitals and cemeteries are full of wealthy people. And their wealth did not keep them from getting sick. Their wealth did not keep them from dying. It is an uncertain thing to put our hope in wealth. But there is a certain thing that we can put our hope in, and that is in God. And that's what the Bible tells us to do here. And we have this idea that if we get more money, if we get this extra toy, if we get this extra gadget or this new car, then it's going to make us happy. If we could just get a boat that we could take out on the lake every weekend, then that would make us happy. But the truth is that those things aren't what makes us happy. And there's been scientific studies, people who study happiness and study these things have determined that once you get to the point where your basic needs are met, as far as money is concerned, you're able to put food on the table and clothes on your back, and you're able to put a roof over your head, that once you reach about that level, the more money you have does not make you happier. And they've done lots of interviews and done lots of studies, and that's what they've come to the conclusion of. And so more money doesn't necessarily make you happier. It can't fulfill you. It can't save you. But still, for some reason, we put so much faith in the size of our whatever our bank account balance is, and how much we have in our IRAs or our investing accounts, or whatever, how big our nest egg is, or how much we have stuffed away in the mattress. But money is not a thing that provides stability, and we can't put our hope in that. And what the Bible tells us in this verse right here, that those of us who are rich, and when I say rich, I mean we've got more than enough. We have our basic needs met, and we have some left over. Then that's rich. Maybe not. It's not how we see it in this country, but worldwide, if we can get those basic things and still have money left over, we're rich. The Bible says that what we're supposed to do is to do good deeds, to be generous and willing to share. To do good deeds, to be generous and willing to share. And a lot of people have a bad attitude about this topic, especially when preachers talk about it. They say, well, of course the preacher's going to say we need to do good deeds and we need to share, and what he really means is to put our money in the offering plate so that he can get his paycheck. Well, that wasn't the attitude that Paul had right here. First of all, Paul was writing to Timothy. And so Paul was getting nothing out of this, because he was telling Timothy to preach this message. Timothy was in Ephesus, and I forget where Paul was when he wrote it, but it wasn't Ephesus. And another thing is Paul writes on some occasions he refused to take any money from the churches that he was ministering to because he didn't want there to be that potential that they would say, oh, he's just after his money. So he was a bivocational minister. He had a job on the side that he did at night, and he preached during the day. So that wasn't the attitude that Paul had, was give to the church so that I can wear a nice suit. And that's not the attitude of a lot of preachers these days either, even though it is popular these days to talk bad about preachers and to talk bad about the church. Most of them aren't in it for the money. I know a lot of preachers who work a full-time job and they pastor in their extra time because that's what the Lord has called them to do. They're not in it for the money, and I think that's generally the case. And so we're not talking about being generous by so that the preacher can get more money, or so that the church can hoard more money. But this kind of activity is good for the church. It teaches discipline. It causes people who have money to know that money is not the end-all and be-all. It's not what defines them, and it's not what gives them hope. So that's what this message is about, and I hope you take that to heart. Have a good day.